So K-Dude85 here, and today we have a pretty long video about the structural problems of the heart. We are going over a grand total of 12 diseases today. So let's get into it. First one is melanoma, which is skin cancer that spreads to the heart, and cancerous nodes that build up on heart tissues. So we can turn on the epithelial. So this is where the melanoma would strike. The heart, the skin tissue, the epithelium. And next is a ventricular septal defect. So we'll hide the left ventricle and the wall of the left ventricle. And now there would be a hole in this septum. That's the muscles, but there would be a hole in that septum. And that can cause oxygenated blood to flow back to the lungs due to the pressure difference. The left ventricle is under more pressure than the right ventricle, since the left ventricle is pumping blood to the body and the right ventricle is pumping blood to the lungs. Okay, we'll redo those. And okay, atrial septal defect. So there's a hole in the septum over here that and the blood flows back to the lungs due to the pressure difference. Again, there's a hole over here, and it leads to shortness of breath and not enough of the blood goes to the body. Okay, left ventricular rupture. So this is the left ventricular wall, by the way. So the left ventricular rupture is resulting from a heart attack. The tissue-deprived left ventricle will rupture due to the heart attack, and it's the oxygen deprived. And then the blood flows into the pericardium, and this affects cardiac output, and it makes a heart attack, which is deadly, even more deadly. Okay, pericarditis also results from a heart attack. We can throw the epithelial. So the pericardium, and this is where the blood from the left ventricular rupture would also flow into. So pericarditis, it results from a heart attack also. The fluid leaks out of the heart and it fills the pericardial sac. It leaks anywhere from the heart. And then it impacts the cardiac output like left ventricular rupture. Okay. So now we are going to the endocarditis. And to show this, we have to get clever. So the endocarditis is a tissue layering that layers everything in the cardiac system, from the tiny capillaries over here to the arteries, but they have different names in places, to the veins, and ultimately to the endocardium in the heart. So it's a bacterial infection, and it enters through an open wound, and it affects the endocardium, and the infectious bacteria can break off and enter the bloodstream, which is dangerous. Okay. Left ventricular thrombus. So this is also after a heart attack. The swollen, deprived heart muscle won't move, and there will be blood clots around oxygen-deprived cells, and this forms a thrombus. Okay, coarctation of an aorta. The aorta contracts. Okay, so this is the aorta, or the aortic arch, but yeah. And then this is when this blood vessel contracts. It leads to less blood flow to the body, and it leads to high blood pressure, or BP, or congenital heart failure, which follows after that. And then a left ventricular aneurysm. So as we know, a heart attack leads to dead cells, and these dead cells can lead to an aneurysm on the left ventricle. Okay, left ventricular myxoma. I don't know how to pronounce it. A tumor in the left atrium over here, we can hide it, which bulges through the mitral valve over here into the left ventricle over here. And this blocks blood flow to the left ventricle because obviously there's a big tumor there. Blood won't get through. Okay. A patent ductus arteriosus is an opening between the aorta and the pulmonary trunk. These two. This is the pulmonary trunk, and this is the aorta. And this allows for the mixture of oxygenated and deoxygenated blood. And the last one, a patent foramen ovale, is when the ovale does not close and leaves a hole between the right and left atria. Ovale is a hole in the heart before the baby is born. And this is the ovale. Okay, so let's recap. We covered melanoma, which is skin cancer. We covered a ventricular septal defect, which is a hole in the ventricular septum. We covered the atrial septal defect, which is a hole in the septum in the atrium. We covered a left ventricular rupture, which results from a heart attack. We covered pericarditis, which results from a heart attack and fluid leaks into the pericardium or pericardial sac. We covered endocarditis, which is caused by bacterial infection on the tissue layering on the heart, and it can create infectious bacteria which can break off and enter the bloodstream. We covered a left ventricular thrombus, which is blood clots that form a thrombus. We covered coarctation of an aorta, which leads to less blood flow and when the aorta contracts. We covered a left ventricular aneurysm, which leads to dead cells. And we covered left ventricular myxoma, which is a tumor in the left atrium which bulges into the left ventricle. And we covered a patent ductus arteriosus, which is an opening between the aorta and pulmonary trunk, allowing for mixture of blood, and a patent foramen ovale, which is when the ovale does not close and leaves a hole between the right and left atria. Okay, that was a big video. I know it was a lot, but I'll see you in the next video of the next heart diseases. And we will finish up the diseases of the heart series. And I'll see you later. K285 out, and bye-bye.